Hi, everybody. Good morning. So what I wanted to cover today were five key topics. Where we have been in the Gen AI journey, where we started, where we are going, the state of the private markets, where Citi is investing in Gen AI, this whole topic of AI agents that Arvind and David were starting to talk about, and it's definitely not RPA. So I'm hoping that we can discuss that, and then talk a little bit about reasoning AI and responsible AI as well. So, I mean, as an industry, we have come such a long way. If you think about variational autoencoders in 2013, that introduced the concept of encoders and decoders, and it was the first time we started to create these amazing images that now we take for granted, followed by generative adversarial networks, GANs, that started to create photorealistic images by two networks sort of going against each other, trying to figure out who can create the best image. There's a lot of limitations in CNNs and RNNs and LSTM, everything that followed through. There was no context in how those models worked, and transformers for the first time could take context that's now up to like millions of tokens of context in these models. And then obviously ChatGPT and everything that has followed since then, from multimodal models and diffusion models and reasoning models and so on. So it's just been an amazing journey over the last decade. And it's been a tremendous business impact as well, whether it's in sales or marketing or customer service, software development. Phil talked about it a little bit as well, how 70% of code is now being written using Gen AI. And then the statistic that I find the most amazing is how the cost of LLM inferencing has come down by a factor of 1,000x. I mean, Jonathan, as our CIO, probably doesn't see too many technologies that go down in cost. You know, when we started with the cloud journey, if anything, cloud costs have continued to go up. Cloud data warehousing costs have continued to go up. There's not too many deflationary technologies. And LLM inferencing is one of the first ones where every year the cost of LLM inferencing is coming down by 10x. And we'll talk about some of the reasons why. And the impact on revenue, in many other technologies, what happens is the revenue impact is slow to be realized. But this is a very unique technology in which where the enterprise adoption, consumer adoption, all of it is translated to revenue. Several coding companies that have crossed hundreds of millions of revenue in a matter of months. And a lot of breakthrough applications, whether it's text to video, text to voice, coding, deep research. If folks have not tried out deep research, would highly encourage you. You go to one of these foundation models, give it a prompt, and it browses through the web, hundreds of websites, goes and summarizes it for any topic you'd like, and produces a management consulting ready report. And so in general, the technology capabilities of these models, right, not just the multimodal models, but agentic frameworks. We'll talk to Glenn about everything that's happening on the agentic framework side. Performance optimization techniques like flash attention has been one of the key drivers why inferencing costs have come down by a factor of 10x every year. Fine-tuning techniques like low-rank adaptation, where you can take a model, train it on new data that it was not trained on, and then ultimately use it for new use cases. Infrastructure, I know NVIDIA is here in the room. Blackwell, orders of magnitude improvement from the prior generation, high bandwidth memory, and vector databases. We'll have a conversation with VV8 later that's in the vector database space, as well as open source models. So mixture of experts, sparse attention. There's just a lot that has happened in the technology sphere that's sort of driven where we are at today. And CapEx continues to grow. Phil talked about it a little bit as well. 200 billion plus forecasted this year. And these are brand new data centers that will be dedicated just to AI and how you train, how you do inferencing, how do you do storage, networking, cooling. All of that will look very different for the GPU world. As far as the venture market, just given most of the companies that I talked about, other than NVIDIA, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, Cleans, Cursors, they're all venture-backed companies. So just given the massive explosion of revenue and consumer enterprise uptake, venture funding in Gen AI has doubled year on year. At this point, 70% of all venture dollars are going into AI. And foundation model companies have raised the lion's share of it. Liquidity has been strong. So we had an acquisition of Moveworks, by ServiceNow. It was almost a $3 billion acquisition. Everybody must have seen the Meta acquiring Scale acquired a 49% stake in Scale for $15 billion. So both Liquidity in full-on acquisitions plus acqui-hires continues to be strong. And investment in Gen AI infrastructure, whether it's dev tools, whether it's semiconductors. So semiconductors in general has been not a very venture-backed market, but with all the innovations that's happening in having purpose-built chips that you need for training or inferencing, so companies like Cerebras and Sambanova and Grok that has an LPU architecture, as well as new GPU clouds. Everybody thought that the hyperscaler market was done. We saw the CoreWeave IPO. You have Lambda Labs, Crusoe. So a lot happening in that whole space as well. As far as Citi investments in Gen AI, so we continue to invest up and down the stack. So we are investing in search and knowledge management, so in companies like Glean, which is now an agentic company, in marketing companies like Writer, legal. We were investors in a company, Lexion, that exited to DocuSign, as well as several financial services specific companies, and then companies like Galileo in the valuation space. So we look to invest in all areas to where we can bring Gen AI capabilities to market. Now let's talk a little bit about AI agents. So definitely a lot of misinformation out there. APIs are not agents. Workflow tools are not agents. We will talk about use cases and what at least I would consider an agent, and hopefully some of you would agree. So just in terms of use cases, if you think about in financial services, there is a world where you can have an AI agent do shopping on your behalf, whether you're a business or a consumer. So the AI agent will do searches, knows your preferences, will go to the web, find the information, and if you authorize it, can make payments on your behalf as well. Stripe, Visa, Klarna, they have all launched AI agents for commerce. Fraud, risk, and KYC. Financial institutions are hit with a lot of fraud in both the consumer business and the corporate business. So a fraud agent that can understand the case, can go and look at websites, can go do external web research, can look at internal tools, and then create the dossier that a human can then review and approve, but could save a fraud analyst hours of time or a KYC analyst hours of time in collecting that information. Or in customer engagement, where we are already seeing this use case where you as a customer interfacing with a brand, the auto agent knows everything about you, has the knowledge base that it has access to, has a natural empathetic conversation with the agent, could be text, could be voice, and ultimately resolves those issues. So in all those cases, very, very significant uses of agentic AI. The way I think about AI agents is that there are the 5 kind of AI agents, and an autonomous car is probably the best way to think about an AI agent. So an autonomous car, if you have a Tesla or if you've taken a Waymo ride, so there is a goal for that car, which is to get to your destination. The car has a plan, which is the navigation system. It figures out the traffic, the battery life. It's taking in inputs from the environment, from the battery sensors, from the tire sensors. It's learning. So if you brake, the car knows that there was something that it hadn't anticipated, and so now it has learned from the interaction. If you take control of the car, it knows that in which cases you're maybe risk averse and you want to take control of the car in certain situations. So it's learning based. And all these agents work together in a network or a hierarchy. So for an AI agent, there has to be a system of planning, a system of reasoning, something that's more intelligent than just doing a deterministic API or a workflow. So I'd be very, very mindful of when somebody is pitching an AI agent, does it really have that type of LLM, that type of intelligence built in? And we're seeing a lot of new capabilities being built in these agents. So chain of thought reasoning, where an agent can take a bigger problem and break it down into smaller problems. So let's say you ask an agent to go do a competitive research or come up with a new pricing for a product. So it knows that to do pricing for this new product, it needs to understand the competitive pricing. So go to the web, find the pricing of all your competitors. It needs to go in the knowledge base and find out what your own cost is. It needs to have some type of demand elasticity models, and based on that come up with a recommendation. So a simple prompt like give me the pricing from a new product, it has broken it down into 3 or 4 sub areas and has then gone and given you an answer. So, and it is explaining all of this to you as it's going along. So it's using techniques like RAG to bring in internal and external knowledge, has memory, so it has corporate knowledge, has knowledge of your prior interactions with it, and it's learning over time. So all of those things have to be inherent in the agentic frameworks. Lots of AI agent frameworks being brought to bear. We'll have a demo from Crew AI later. Glean has an agent framework as well as Google and Microsoft have launched agentic frameworks also. And I think where this is going is that ultimately agents and LLMs will work very symbiotically together. LLM is what's providing the brain to these agents. So the planning, the reasoning, all of that is coming from the large language models. A lot of business problems are multimodal. You're taking in text, you're taking in images, you're taking in video. So these agents will be multimodal. They will also not just be digital, they will be physical as well. So if you go into a robotic warehouse, these robotic agents, which typically use something like a robotic automation operating system, and are somewhat guided using techniques like SLAM, they will have a brain that's powered by LLM so that they are constantly learning and evolving. So almost like an autonomous car, but for physical environments. There'll be meta learning and ultimately leading us towards AGI. Last topic I'd like to discuss is reasoning and responsible AI. And the model, as models are not too different from humans. We all love our rewards, so it got better and better over time. And then the other core enhancement is reasoning models. So like the chain of thought reasoning example in the AI agent, where if you give it a complex problem, it's breaking it down, it's showing you the logic as it's doing it. So if you think about higher level cognitive tasks in law, in medicine, in software coding, where architects have built decades of experience, and you want these AI tools, if we have to go towards AGI to be like that, reasoning is a key way in which these models will get there. And lastly, responsible AI. We as the AI industry, we don't want these models to have bias built in how they take in data, how they generate content. We don't want these models to hallucinate. We want them to be safe so that they're not exfiltrating data. We want these models to not have ingested copyrighted content. So this is a very active area of evaluation for us as well. Lastly, I have 3 predictions for where we are headed as an industry over the next 10 years. The first one is that some people have started to use AI bots as their personal therapists. With all the dark secrets we have unloaded to these AI therapists, I think some of them will need their own AI therapists in the next decade or so. The second one is, self-driving cars, the union of them will refuse to be on roads with humans. They're 10x safer than how we drive our cars. There's almost like 10 million rides that have been taken on Waymo in San Francisco without any accident or incident. So the self-driving cars are going to revolt for sure. And then ultimately, AI agents. AI agents still hallucinate a lot. So if you're an AI agent, you won't want to work with an AI agent that hallucinates. So next 10 years, expect there to be some falling out there as well. So to summarize, look, we've come a long way from autoencoders to dreams of AGI. So whether you're a startup in AI, you are an executive working in a startup, you're in a large company working on AI, you're an investor in AI. Look, I think the industry has accomplished a lot. So hopefully the next 10 years will be 10 to 100x more powerful than the last 10 years. So thanks, everybody. At this point, would like to bring on Arvind Jain, CEO of Glean, for a fireside chat. Thank you.